41% returns in just 4.5 months. A lot of people on social media discuss a lot of stocks and recommend a lot of stocks, and so do I. But no one goes back and reviews the stocks that they have recommended. So, as a first, I've started reviewing the stocks that I've been recommending on my YouTube channel. So, you're going to learn the stocks that I recommended, how did they perform, and what are the mistakes that you can possibly make, and how you can actually trade these stocks that I've recommended. Right? So, hello and welcome to the Telenovest channel. This is your Telenovest investor, and if you're new to my channel, do watch this one video till the end and you will definitely learn a lot. And if you have been watching my videos, don't forget to share this video with your friends. So let's move on. The stocks that we recommended on the 9th of April were Cochin Shipyard, Swaraj Engines, VST Tillers, and Ashiana Housing. Now these were given as part of a positional trading portfolio or even investment portfolio. You could have done both ways. We're going to literally dissect these stocks and see how they performed, what could have been your potential entry points, where could you have added more, and where you should have exited. Okay, let's move on. So first stock was Cochin Shipyard that I recommended here. It was around 487, stop loss of 15%, and we look for targets of 700. And this was somewhere here. Now, the reason I recommended this stock in this week was this reversal candle that I saw, and then we had a tiny candle this week. Now, if you look, this stock actually retested this zone here, a very strong reversal, and then also we had some good volumes in the last 2 weeks, and this week we had a tiny candle. And that's one of the reasons I picked this stock, and this is how the stock performed. The stock gave a net to net 72% returns until now. Entry was at 487, target was 700, but we also touched 839 round. Right, so this stock was covered here after the strong reversal we had, and then the stock went almost sideways. Now, as soon as the stock recommended, let's assume that you took the entry the very next day, and then the stock went almost sideways for a few days. Right, so you could have taken a very small position. As I always say, your first position should be small, and then you go aggressive when you see this breakout over here from a very strong consolidation, or you could have also added here. Right, but then what happened is we had a gap down. Now remember, in a stock which is in an uptrend, gap downs are quite normal. Sometimes the stocks might gap down 5-6%, sometimes 20%. It depends on the stocks. But usually when a stock gaps down, and then the stock doesn't give a follow through the next day, there's no follow through selling, then that's a very strong sign that the stock is not going to fall. So whenever a stock gaps down in an uptrend, don't just sell off the stock immediately unless it goes down 20%, maybe you want to exit. But in this case, probably we went from 555 to 475, so that's almost 50 points, around 10%, and we didn't really go down much during the intraday as well, right? So we kind of probably waited and kept your stop loss still around the pivot zones. Now I recommend always using pivot swing lows as your stop loss, so you could check the pivot points high-low indicator in trading view, and you can plot the 10-10 default indicator. Now if you think that's too conservative, then you can also plot the 5-5 indicator, but we are going to take the 10-10-10 indicator, pivot point high-low with 10-10 settings, and we're going to see how the trade went through. Now let's say you held on to this trade and the stock kind of went sideways and then reversed. Right, now this day when it crossed above the previous pivot high, that's a very bullish sign. The stock did not have a follow through sell off, and the stock went up with a strong volumes, and the next day also we had strong volumes. So once you saw this reversal, it was a very good idea probably to add and then trail your stop loss to this swing low over here from this swing low. Right, so your stop loss moves here, and then you kind of add more on this point, and then the stock again consolidated a few days and then again broke out. Now this here was a very strong confirmation that this stock is heading higher, because we had a reversal, the stock kind of reversed all the way, again a short consolidation, and again we went higher. So that's a very nice day to add on more to your positions. And then again we had a retest here and the stock went higher. Right, once the stock went higher, you could have trailed your stop loss to this pivot point over here, which was the retest of the zone, and then the stock again consolidated a few days and then again went high. Right, now the next pivot has not formed yet. Now remember, this pivot, you need to have 10 candles on both sides above the previous high low, only then it forms. So on this, until now we don't have a pivot low yet, so you can probably wait for the pivot to form, or you can trail your stop loss like I have done here. Right, so because the stock is already up quite a lot and I don't want to give too much of gains, and you can also kind of keep your stop loss over here. Now since the stock has already moved up 70%, you might want to be also aggressive and trail your stop loss to this low and see how the stock performs. Right, so in case you want to book partial profits, you can book partial profits when the stock breaks the swing low, and then probably trail the rest to this point or however you want. Right, now the point I want to tell here is that stocks which you pick for investing, you can pick stocks for investing with a very small stop. That's a very important point, because people think for investing you don't have to have a stop loss, and it's very impossible to pick stocks with a small stop loss. You can do that, and you could have probably taken a very small portion and held on to the stock and keep riding the trend with the stop loss over here. Okay, so that's what I wanted to tell. So moving on, the second stock we recommended was Swaraj Engines. Again, a beautiful reversal here. Again, all these setups are reversal setups, and I personally love reversal setups. And again, here this was a nice bullish candle that week, and we had a 7.4% stop loss, and we're looking for targets of 3,000. Right, so probably 3,000 was somewhere, I think, towards the upper end of the channel. I was probably a little over optimistic, but let's see how the stock did. So this was a day the stock reversed with a bullish candle, and then kind of had a small short fall here towards the support zone. Now this was a major support zone. A major support zone is nothing but a stock which reversed multiple times from the same levels, right? And then we had a bullish candle, a strong rally one way up, right? So whenever you have a pivot break over here, now again I plotted the pivot points high low indicator here, and whenever it breaks you can probably add more, or you could have added here also in this case. Now it depends on how aggressive you are. If you're a swing trader and if you're very aggressive, you could have added a big portion here and had a very massive uptrend over here, right? And the stock consolidated here for a few days. We had a new pivot forming, and the stock had a breakout again here. You could have probably added more here and trail your stop loss here, right? If you're a swing trader, don't use the pivot 10 10 10. You could use just the consolidation point, just keep it here, and then you can ride the trend. Right now, remember this is a very large base breakout, right, that we're looking at. So you can get much good returns. Now in this case, the stock had a one-way move up, and here also we had a crazy move up. Again, a short consolidation, again crazy move up, right? So you could have trailed stop loss here as well because the pivot has still not formed. But if you're a positional trader, you can also use the pivot swing low, right? So right now the pivot is forming here. If you're a positional trader, you exit if this low breaks. But if you're a swing trader, don't give back too much, and you could have trailed your stop loss here, right? So again, right, we had a breakout, and again stock came all the way down, right? For now the stock is in a downtrend. We had a the stock is not in a downtrend overall, but from a swing trading perspective, yes it is. And once this low breaks, that's when we have a proper downtrend. But I think from positional trading perspective, the stock is still very good to add. Even from an investing perspective, the stock is very good to add. Okay, that's the second stock for today. Moving on to the third stock is VST Tillers. Again, a beautiful reversal setup that we've had. We had a nice trend change here. The stock went sideways. Again, we had breakout. The stock again went sideways. Now, if you see, the stock was reversing from a major support zone over here. Now, this was a beautiful support zone, and the stock was reversing, and that's why I caught the stock, right? So if you move on to the daily charts here, this was the day that I covered it. It was a major resistance. The stock was hovering around that zone. We covered it here, and then the stock kind of had a breakout. I think this was earnings day results. We had a massive gap up here, and the stock again consolidated here, and then we had a breakout here. Now, the stock here did not give an opportunity to add, so this was probably not a good time to add, but definitely this was a very good time to add here when we had a strong closing here along with slight increase in volumes, and then we again consolidated here and we had a breakout here. And this stock overall has given 46% returns until now, and we've hit the target price already, and I think we might go much higher levels from here. So that's how you could have traded this stock. The stock is still very strong. Don't sell it off if you have it. Keep your stop loss here and see where the stock goes. That's the third stock, and that's how it went. That's how you could have traded. The last stock is Ashiana Housing. This again was a large base breakout. Now remember, the last three stocks were reversal setups, whereas here this was a breakout setup. Now I'll show you the clear disadvantage of trading a reversal or a breakout setup here. Right? Again here, the breakout already occurred here, and then the stock went sideways for almost from April to almost June, right? June, July. So that's the problem with breakout setups. Some of the breakout setups, because the stock already had a one-way move up, the stock had a major supply zone here probably, and the stock just went into consolidation mode. But sometimes these stocks which are breaking even might head one way up, but this stock unfortunately went sideways. And that's why I prefer buying reversal setups, because you have already advantage, you're entering early, and even if the stock consolidates, you're still in profits and you can add more once the stock breaks out here. Now, another thing in this case is the stock is quite an erratic stock, right? So when I say erratic, it had gap down, it had a massive move up, and the stock again went down. It has been going sideways. Now, in such cases, when a stock is moving very slow, you can use the pivot 10-10, which is a very strong signal in terms of it helps you trail your stop loss better, or you can also use the 50-day moving average. Right now, when stocks move like this, it's pretty good. Even like this, these are very good movements. That's what I usually trade. I usually don't get stuck in these kind of stocks. Kind of frustration sometimes comes in, and then you kind of exit sometimes, right? So it's okay to exit if you think the stock has not moved for 1 month, then you can just exit. And if your stock is still close to your average price, you can exit, right? And then enter the stock on the next breakout somewhere here. But for now, this stock is still has moved up. Again, we had a gap up here. Again, the stock closed all the way down, and then again we are going down. From a swing trading perspective, if you thought this is a very slow mover, you could have exited the stock somewhere around this zone, or even here somewhere you could have exited the zone, right? So, but it did not really give opportunities to add much. You could have added on this day here. It's completely up to you. But then the stock came all the way down, and then again we went sideways. So this was a very confusing stock, but you have to follow your rules. So one thing that I always recommend is try to stick to your rules as much as possible. I sometimes don't stick to them, especially when the stock goes sideways for more than a couple of months, right? I kind of exit and then I try to look for a new entry. If I had entered, probably I'd have entered the stock somewhere around this day over here, right? So, but overall, this stock would have been a very good positional trade. Also, 17% returns in 4.5 months, not pretty bad, right? It's more than your yearly returns you get in a mutual fund. So overall, I think it did decent, but I think the stock is still a very good investment candidate, and we can probably head towards the upper end of the channel. So these are the 4 stocks I wanted to review. Now do let me know in the comments if you did like this kind of videos, if it helps you understand the stocks I recommend and how they performed. Are you getting some learnings? If yes, do let me know in the comments. I will continue to make such videos. If not, if you really think this doesn't make sense, and if you want more other learning videos, I could also make them. So it's very important for you to leave a comment as a feedback for me so that I take that forward. Otherwise, I'm going to leave you here. I hope you enjoyed this analysis. I'll see you in another video. Until then, stay safe, take care, and trade safe. Bye-bye.